everybody, it's Linnea. Today I'm going to be using a stencil as well as the Explore and Discover stamp set from LDRS Creative. I'm going to be taking that stamp set and altering that little bottle stamp to create a fun shaker card. So to start off with, I'm going to use the Mermaid Shimmer stencil to create an ombre background. Now when I get inks, I swatch them out, and you can see that I used a variety of different stamps to do that. I just like to use a solid stamp so that I get as much of the ink color as I can, so I can really see the true color of the stencil, or of the ink rather. And then when I want to blend an ombre of colors together, I kind of line up the colors next to each other to see how they're going to look. So the four colors that I chose are Swimming Hole, Marina Madness, Bali Blue, and Dark Wash Jeans. I'm going to place that stencil right over a piece of white cardstock, and then I'll just start blending. When I'm blending, I like to start with my darkest color. That way it's easier for me. It's just because I'm a lazy crafter and I don't want to have to start with the lightest and then go to the medium and then blend back to the lightest and back to the medium and keep going back and forth. I find that if I start with the darkest, work towards my dark medium, and then my medium, and then my light, I don't have to work as hard, and I get a smoother blend. So I started with the Dark Wash Jeans at the bottom, then Bali Blue in the middle, Marina Madness at the top middle, and then Swimming Hole will be my lightest color at the top of my stencil. When I'm done, I can peel that back and look at that background. It's so fun. So now I'm going to do just a little bit of stamping, not a lot of stamping for this card. I'm going to take the Explore and Discover stamp set and just pull off that bottle stamp. Now I kept my mistake in the video because I think it's a mistake that a lot of us crafters make. This stamp has a lot of, I guess, negative space to it. So when I added my stamp onto my positioner here and stamped with the Raven Hybrid ink, I had a bubble in the middle of my stamp, and this happens whenever you have like an outline stamp. So what I'm going to do is just go back and kind of lift that stamp up from the bottom and roll it down onto my stamp positioner. And that way I won't get that bubble in the center of the bottle, and I won't get any ink in the center of my stamp. That's a common problem that I feel like a lot of crafters have and don't know how to solve, and that's a little tip that I learned a year or so ago, is to just roll your stamp onto either your acrylic block or your stamping platform, whatever you're using to stamp. That way you don't get the bubble, and so you won't get that excess ink. My coloring today is very simple. I'm going to be coloring with some alcohol markers, but I don't need to color in the entire bottle because I'm going to be manipulating this stamped image to making a shaker card. So I'm actually going to use my scissors and cut out the center portion of the bottle. So I colored the cork with some brownish markers and then just a light blue-green to outline the bottle, just my lightest one for that. Now I went ahead and die cut the bottle that I colored with the coordinating Explore and Discover dies, and I'm just going to stick my scissors into the center and trim around, leaving a small border at the inside so that I'm going to have an outline of the bottle. And you can see in the screen there that I also used that die for the bottle to cut a second piece of cardstock. I didn't do any stamping. This is going to be the background of the bottle for the shaker. That way I have a perfectly aligned background and I don't have to do any fancy trimming or anything for the background. I also stamped a little sentiment banner from the Explore and Discover stamp set using some Prickly Pear Perfection ink. There isn't a coordinating die for that sentiment strip, but it is very easy to just trim it with scissors into a little banner edge. Okay, so you can see that I finished cutting out the center portion of that first bottle, the one that's going to be the outline for the shaker, and it fits perfectly onto the background because I used the same die to cut out both pieces. I want to add a little bit of color to the background so that the sequins will have a little bit of interest in addition to the shininess of the sequins. So I'm using those same three blue-green markers, and I'm going to add some shading as well as some dot detail. And look at how fun that looks. It really looks like the bottle is kind of like half filled with water. Okay, so to build the actual shaker part, I have outlined my colored frame with some thin double-sided tape, and this is strong adhesive so that I can lay a piece of acetate over the top of this to provide a little window for my shaker. Now I did die cut the acetate with that same bottle die from the Explore and Discover die set. That way it's going to match up perfectly, and again, I don't have to do any trimming. I like to use a bone folder just to make sure that the acetate is going to adhere well onto that double-sided adhesive. And then comes what for me is the hardest part of the shaker. I'm going to outline the shaker with thin strips of foam tape. Once I have that done, it's time to fill it up with some pretty sequins. I used some clear iridescent sequins, and some of them kind of have like a silver sheen to them. I thought this would look really nice against the blue-green markers of the background, especially with that dot detail. So I'm going to put just a little bit of sequins in there because I want some of my background to show through. And then I'm just going to lay that background piece right on top, and again, everything is going to fit together perfectly because I used that same die to create my shaker. Just look at how fun those sequins are shaking around inside that bottle. So now I'm going to take my background that I stenciled previously and just adhere the bottle onto that stenciled background, and that will complete my card. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I hope you had fun and that you will take another look at your stamps and figure out which ones that you can kind of cut up and to create a shaker card. I'll see you guys soon. Bye!